Hi, my name is Casey Ryan, and this is my tour of the Common Core State Standards website on the English Language Arts Standards section. And basically on the introduction page, it just talks a bit about how these standards establish guidelines for both English language arts, but also they address literacy in social studies, science, and the technical subjects. And it just helps to build cohesion between the different content areas and how large of a role literacy plays in each content area. This can help to develop a lot of cohesion between the content areas for educators who are trying to develop lessons that run fluidly. Moving on to the anchor standards, there are different sections for the anchor standards for reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and for language. And the anchor standards are basically general, broad skills that students should be developing at all grade levels in these different categories. And so the terms are very broadly interpreted for the different grade levels, but of course the level of complexity at which each of these skills is implemented into the curriculum will vary at different grade levels. So each of the anchor standards in these sections just outlines general things that students should be doing at all grade levels in these content areas. Moving on to literature for grade 6, which is what I will be focusing on for this tutorial, is so the grade 6 reading literature standards, they implement a lot of the skills that can be developed through close reading and some different things in each of the different sections on comparing and contrasting or determining the meaning of words and phrases, which, like I said, can be done through close reading practices. And I'll move on to the next section, reading informational texts. That also breaks down different standards for students on how they're going to be interpreting the nonfiction text that they're going to be reading, the informational text that they have, and how to develop better literacy skills in those different arenas. And then also for reading and foundational skills, but that only goes through grade 5, so I won't be diving deeper on that one. For the writing section, this section outlines a bit about how students should be able to write arguments, write different kinds of text like informative or explanatory text, more creative experiences or personal narratives, and breaks it down by the different types of writing they'll be doing and what they can be expected to do at each level. And then the next section would be speaking and listening. So this section right here outlines generally how students should be engaging in literacy practices outside of reading and writing. So speaking and listening is a big part of it, and how students will come prepared to discussions and how to develop more academic discussions and be a part of the academic scene. And then language as well is a factor. Right here that you would bring for grade 6, they have different standards as well for the language section, and that is all geared towards developing that academic language overall as well. And then this section right down here for grade 6 through 12, literacy in history and social studies, science, and the technical subjects, that section really breaks down how the different content areas are related to literacy and how to better develop literacy practices within those content areas in order for students to succeed. And so each of those kind of breaks it down by the different groupings of content areas. And last but not least, I wanted to show the ELA appendices. English Language Arts Appendix A is all about text complexity and really why it's important. So it talks about different research behind text complexity, and it's very text heavy, but it breaks it down to help future educators really understand how to determine text complexity and why it's important. And then Appendix B includes text exemplars and sample performance tasks, which I found to be very useful because it answered my question of how do teachers determine what kinds of novels and what pieces of literature their students should be reading at different grade levels, and kind of how to determine those lexile levels. So it breaks it down from the different grade levels and the different type of text that they have examples for, which I thought was very useful. And finally, the Appendix C are samples of student writing, which just shows how to break down and analyze student writing and determine whether a child is meeting the writing standards outlined for them. So You can see they have actual student work and then how to analyze it and how to really break it down and see exactly what was going on in that sample of student writing. And that is the general overview of the English Language Arts standards for Common Core. That is the end of my tour. Thank you.